Welcome back, America. I'm playing that in the hopes that the electricity is on in Minnesota. They were sweating. There it is. We're playing "Oh Canada" for you, Lileks. Are you standing up because of that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Hugh, of
All right,
course I
they're
am.
good.
I'm full of
Your lights are on. Rob Ford was threatening to turn your lights, or Doug Ford, I can't remember which Ford it was going to turn off your lights this morning.
Yeah, so I heard. We were told about that, at which point I thought, one of the things that I do like about living in America is is what we call electricity and the constant access to it. So the idea somehow that we would have it turned off because of the trade dispute was unnerving, but also you have to think, why are we getting our power from Canada exactly?
Well,
Not
you've anticipated my question. Why is Minnesota? Haven't you got coal up there? Don't you have dog sleds?
Well, Hugh, you can't exactly power a power plant with dog sleds. I mean, even if you put them
They
in
go fast
in a
enough, you can.
in a hamster wheel, I don't think you would be able to move the turbines to generate sufficient stuff. No, we have a nuclear power plant. We have gas and oil and the rest of it. But I'm wondering whether or not we are going to be in the perilous position that many places are when net zero effects start to do things like destroy your ability to flip on the light switch and get your lights right away. But the grid is connected in ways that go beyond the ken of mere guys like us. I mean, we are connected to Texas. Texas is connected to, Alaska, as far as I know.
Don't
So,
start doing the jawbones connected to the leg bone on me, because I got important stuff. You are represented by
Okay,
one Ilhan Omar, are you not?
I am.
Yes. So have you called her yet to suggest that a constituent would like to see Mr. Khalil tossed out of the country?
Yeah, I'm going to get right on that, Hugh. I'm going to get right on that in a second. I was just right after I get done talking to the governor about disconnecting us from the power grid of Canada, and I'm sure that he would be on that in a trice. No, I haven't. What's the point? But it's an interesting martyr to make, isn't it? I mean, this fellow. I found fascinating when they had some pictures of the recent Barnard takeover. Did you see that?
Oh, I've
It was
seen
some
them
students
all,
from
and
Cone.
I don't need. All I
Okay,
need is the fact that Marco Rubio made the finding, and under 8 USC 1227, he's gone. And that's it.
but
You
the
make a
poster.
finding that you're detrimental to our national
Yeah.
foreign policy, you're gone.
You get it. The poster that they put up had Suleiman. It had the other guy that they recently smoked in Gaza somewhere, and it had a little picture that said "Death to America." Death to America, with only one K, interestingly enough. The photograph was a famous picture of a burning apartment building in Minneapolis that was torched during the riots in 2020. And I took that very personally because that was my city that burned. And I don't even think they know the story of the very picture of the building that they burned. It was a low to medium income house. It was an affordable housing complex that they burned in order to get the point across about America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I see a place that I used to drive by under construction burned, on a poster in New York City protesting the existence of America, I, I have to admit that a certain amount of sympathy that I might have had drains out that pipe in my ankle and goes right into the
Well,
floor.
there's a kid named Edon Alexander who is entering into his 17th month as a hostage in the Hamas hellhole. So I have no sympathy to
Mhm.
drain. None. Zero. Let me ask you about.
I was reading. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just reading the biography of the gentleman that they wanted to deport. It was very interesting. He said his family is originally from Tiberias, Palestine. Have you ever heard of Tiberias?
Tiberius is in Israel. Or
Or,
is that
or-
Caesarea?
yes. Yeah, no, he's talking about it says Tiberias, Palestine, which has been Israel forever. But I didn't even know until I researched it today the existence of a town called Tiberias, which is named after the emperor himself. Anyway, go ahead.
But it was in Israel until, I mean,
Yes.
Palestine it didn't get renamed by the Romans until, what, 80? 80 AD?
Well,
Uh,
it's an old place. It was settled mostly by the Jews, and the British kicked the Arabs out before the war, and then after 48 there was the unpleasantness and so forth and so forth.
Nobody knows nothing. I was just talking about this with Podhorts. Nobody knows nothing about nothing. And I really don't. He's
Yeah.
worried, the commentary podcast guys and gal, Christine Rosen's on there, they're worried that anti Semitism is back. And I don't think it ever left. It was in the green room for a
No.
while. It's just back. Have you noticed it locally?
No, I haven't. What I have noticed is more platforming in a curious way on the right, where it seems to be gone beyond the people who are just asking questions. And there were Jews dancing on 9/11. It's a little bit more prominent, seeping into my Twitter feed, which I absolutely hate. We know it's been on the left in the form of anti-Zionist and the rest of that stuff, but no, it's on the resurgence on both sides, and I absolutely can't stand it. But to be fair, it isn't the Proud Boys and the rest of them who are barging into universities demanding that the Jews be dealt
Well,
with.
this brings me to my last question. You are a fan of the U. You are a graduate of the U, the University of Minnesota. Did the University of Minnesota have trouble? The Ohio State University had trouble. I couldn't believe it, but they
Yeah,
did.
yeah, they had a little bit of an encampment. They had a little bit of the sit in the provost's office or somewhere and complain, but they didn't have the permanent encampment that they did in Columbia, or the sort of violent rhetoric that you heard. And I think they cleared them out in time for graduation, if I recall correctly.
Do you think the president of your university noted that Columbia lost $400 million yesterday? $400 million?
$1 million, yes. And Columbia is telling people that, of course, they can't have, they're canceling grants and all the rest of it. They're sitting on something like $18 billion
Yep.
in endowment. And you think they could perhaps dip into that seems to be the definition of the rainy day for which you have
Well,
a rainy day
you'll hear the
fund.
next word will
Uh,
be restricted. It will be restricted
yes,
endowment because
yes.
that's the oldest game in town. That's a restricted endowment. That's restricted
The
to what
University
we
of
want to use it for, whiwhich is not what the federal government
the
pays for.
Right. The University of Minnesota was one of the DOJ named them as one of the universities that had an anti-Semitism problem, and nobody is scratching their head and trying to exactly quite figure out precisely what it is, and that seems to have gone away. It's not one of the prominent examples, and it mystified people why we made the list. I
There
say
is a
we like I'm
lawyer.
still there.
There is a lawyer at the DOJ. His name is Leo Terrell. He's got a list and he's checking it twice. He's going after every university and every federal dollar. And I say, bravo. He's going to get both of my alma maters because they were both bad.
hmm
Harvard and Michigan were both
It's
bad.
it's the oddest act for a supposed Nazi sympathizing fascist regime, isn't it?
Yes.
It's one of those things that makes you scratch your head. If Elon Musk was truly a Nazi, you'd think he'd be quitting the administration now out of general principle.
Well, things are complicated these days, James. And if you'll call your congresswoman and ask her
I
about
will.
this, we
Sure.
can get the ball
Get
rolling.
right on
All
it.
right? All
I'll
right.
get right
Th-
on it. Right on it. Here I go.
Lileks,
Here I
listen
go.
to him in the diner or whatever. Go to Lileks.com.